The night shift secret. The city never truly slept, but tonight, it felt like it was holding its breath. Rain tapped softly against the glass walls of the high-rise control room, where dozens of screens flickered with data, surveillance feeds, and coded signals. A faint hum of machines filled the silence, broken only by the occasional click of a keyboard. Daniel Carter leaned forward in his chair, his hand pressed against his forehead. His eyes were tired, red from hours of staring at numbers that refused to make sense. Something was wrong, he could feel it, but the system showed nothing but normal operations. Still stuck? A voice asked behind him. He didn't turn immediately. It's not stuck, he replied quietly. It's hiding something. A woman stepped closer, resting both hands on the glass desk beside him. Her name was Elena Reyes, one of the most skilled analysts in the building. Though officially assigned to medical systems monitoring, she had a reputation for seeing patterns others missed. Her gaze shifted to the screens. You've been saying that for 3 hours. And I'll keep saying it until it proves me wrong. Elena leaned in, her eyes scanning the data. Show me. Daniel tapped a few keys, pulling up a series of logs. Look at this, everything is running perfectly. No errors, no alerts. But there's a gap, a silent gap. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., for 7 seconds, the system stops recording. Elena frowned. 7 seconds. That's barely anything. That's exactly why it's dangerous, Daniel said, his voice tightening. No one notices something that small. She crossed her arms, thinking. Could be a glitch. No glitch repeats itself with perfect timing, he replied. And not across multiple systems. Elena's expression changed. Multiple systems. Daniel nodded and brought up more screens. Traffic cameras, hospital monitoring systems, even private security feeds, they all shared the same 7-second blackout. A chill settled between them. That's impossible, Elena whispered. Exactly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain outside grew heavier, as if the sky itself sensed the tension building inside the room. Elena straightened. Did you report this? Daniel hesitated. Not yet. Why not? Because last time someone reported something like this, he trailed off. Elena's eyes narrowed. What happened? Daniel finally turned to face her. They disappeared. The word hung in the air like a shadow. Elena let out a slow breath, trying to stay rational. You don't actually believe. I believe patterns, Daniel interrupted. And I believe when something doesn't want to be seen, there's usually a reason. He turned back to the screens, replaying the data again. 2:17 a.m. Every night. 7 seconds of nothing. Let's check tonight, Elena said suddenly. Daniel blinked. What? If it's real, it'll happen again, she explained. And this time, we'll watch it live. Daniel glanced at the clock. 2:11 a.m. 6 minutes. His pulse quickened. If we do this, we're crossing a line. Elena gave a faint, determined smile. You crossed it the moment you noticed. The seconds ticked down painfully slow. 2:15, 2:16. Daniel's fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to capture anything unusual. Elena leaned closer, her focus unbreakable. Get ready, she whispered. 2 hours 16 minutes and 55 seconds. 2 hours 16 minutes and 56 seconds. 2 hours 16 minutes and 57 seconds. The screens flickered. 2:17 a.m. Everything went black. Not just one screen. Not just a few. All of them. The hum of machines dropped to a low, eerie silence. Daniel's breath caught. This isn't just a recording gap. Elena's voice was barely audible. It's happening in real time. For 7 seconds, the world disappeared. And then, the screens came back to life. But something had changed. Daniel stared at the main display, his face going pale. Elena, what? She asked, her voice tense. He pointed slowly at the screen. There's a new file. Elena leaned closer. That wasn't there before. The file had no name. No timestamp. Just a blinking cursor beside it. As if it were waiting. Waiting for them. Daniel swallowed hard. Do we open it? Elena hesitated for the first time. Outside, lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the room for a split second. And in that flash, for just a moment, it almost looked like something was watching them from inside the screen. The file that shouldn't exist. The room felt colder. Daniel stared at the blinking cursor beside the nameless file, his finger hovering over the keyboard. The glow from the screen reflected in his eyes, but there was something else there now, fear. Elena didn't move. For the first time since she'd walked in, she looked unsure. "Don't," she said quietly. Daniel exhaled. "You just told me to cross the line." "Not blindly," she replied. "We don't know what this is." The cursor blinked again. Waiting. Almost impatient. Daniel leaned back slightly. It wasn't there before the blackout. No timestamp, no system log, no trace of origin. That means one thing. Elena finished his thought. It didn't come from inside the system. A low rumble of thunder echoed outside. Daniel turned to a secondary monitor and began typing rapidly. "I'm isolating it. If this is some kind of malware or external breach, I'll trap it before it spreads." Lines of code flooded the screen. Firewalls, partitions, sandbox environments. He built digital walls in seconds. Elena watched carefully. "And if it's not malware?" Daniel didn't answer. A soft ping broke the silence. Both of them froze. The file had moved. It shifted from the main directory to the isolated sandbox Daniel had just created. Without being opened, Elena stepped back. "Tell me you did that." Daniel's voice was tight. "I didn't." The cursor blinked again, now inside the secured environment. And then letters began to appear. Slowly. One by one. HELLO. Elena's breath caught. No, that's not possible." Daniel felt his pulse hammering in his ears. "It's not just code." The text continued. YOUFINALLYSAWIT. Elena grabbed the edge of the desk. "It's responding to us." Daniel shook his head, trying to stay logical. "No. Someone is behind this. It's a prank, or a hack, someone watching the system." But even as he said it, he didn't believe it. The message changed again. 2-17WASTHEONLYTIMEICOULDREACHYOU. Elena whispered, "Reach us, from where?" Daniel typed quickly, "Who are you?" For a second, nothing happened. Then, YOUALREADYKNOW. Daniel's fingers froze above the keyboard. A strange pressure filled the room, like the air itself had grown heavier. Elena shook her head. "No. This is psychological. Someone is messing with us, trying to scare us." Daniel swallowed. "Then how does it know about the blackout?" Before Elena could answer, every screen flickered again, but this time, they didn't go black. They changed. All the surveillance feeds shifted at once. Street cameras, hospital rooms, office corridors. Every screen showed the same thing. An empty hallway. Dimly lit. Silent. Elena looked around in confusion. "What is this place?" Daniel zoomed in on one of the feeds. The image sharpened. A sign on the wall. Level -3. His stomach dropped. "That's inside this building." Elena turned sharply. "There is no level -3. "That's what they told us," Daniel said, his voice barely steady. The text on the screen appeared again. ITSWHERETHEYHIDETHETRUTH. The hallway feed flickered, and for a split second, something moved at the far end. A shadow. Tall. Still. Watching. Elena stepped back, her voice trembling now. "Daniel, turn it off." "I can't," he said. "I don't have control." The system was no longer responding to his commands. The text returned, slower this time. YOUHAVETOCOMEDOWN. A loud click echoed behind them. Both of them turned at the same time. The door to the control room had just unlocked. On its own. The hallway outside was dark. Empty. Waiting. Elena looked at Daniel, fear and determination clashing in her eyes. "If we go down there, we might not come back." Daniel stared at the screens one last time. The shadow, the hallway, the message. Then he stood up. "If we don't," he said quietly, "we'll never know what's been watching us." The lights flickered once. And somewhere deep below them, something was already awake. The corridor outside the control room felt different. Too quiet. Daniel stepped out first, his footsteps echoing softly against the polished floor. Elena followed close behind, her eyes scanning every corner. The bright, controlled environment they had known just minutes ago now felt distant, like a safe world they had already left behind. "Security should be here," Elena whispered. "Night patrol passes every 15 minutes. Daniel checked his watch. "They're late. Or worse, they were already gone." The elevator at the end of the hallway stood open. Waiting. A cold draft drifted out from inside, carrying a faint metallic smell. Elena hesitated. This is a bad idea. Daniel didn't argue. Yeah, it is. But he kept walking. Inside the elevator, the panel glowed faintly. Floors 1 through 32 were listed as usual. But beneath them, a new button pulsed softly. -3. Elena stared at it. That wasn't there before. Daniel reached out, then stopped. His hand hovered in the air. Last chance to walk away, she said. He gave a faint, humorless smile. You still think we can? Neither of them believed that anymore. Daniel pressed the button. The doors slid shut instantly. The elevator dropped. Not smoothly, but fast. Too fast. Elena grabbed the railing as the lights flickered violently. This isn't normal. Daniel tried the emergency panel. Nothing responded. We're not in control anymore. The numbers on the display didn't change. It didn't show floors passing. Just one symbol. Ellipsis. The descent felt endless. Then, a violent jolt. The elevator stopped. Silence. The doors creaked open slowly. Darkness waited on the other side. Only a faint red emergency light flickered in the distance, barely illuminating a long concrete corridor. Elena swallowed. This place, it's not on any blueprint. Daniel stepped out cautiously. Which means it was never meant to be found. The air was cold, damp. The walls were unfinished, rough concrete with old wiring running along them. It felt older than the building itself, like something built first, then buried beneath everything else. They moved forward together. Each step echoed too loudly. Too clearly. As if the silence around them was listening. Halfway down the corridor, they saw it. A door. Heavy steel. Slightly open. A faint light flickered inside. Daniel slowed. That must be it. Elena grabbed his arm. Wait. He turned. What? She pointed at the floor. Footprints. Fresh. Leading into the room. But none coming out. Daniel's throat tightened. We're not the first. The screen's message echoed in his mind. It's where they hide the truth. He pushed the door open. It groaned loudly, the sound scraping through the silence like a warning. Inside, rows of old monitors lined the walls. Dust-covered. Outdated. But still, running. Each screen showed the same thing. The control room. Their control room. Live. Elena stepped inside slowly. This is impossible. Daniel approached one of the screens. It showed him, standing. Exactly where he was now. But then, the image glitched. And changed. On the screen, Daniel wasn't alone. Something stood behind him. He turned instantly. Nothing there. Daniel, Elena whispered. He looked back at the monitor. The figure was still there. Tall. Dark. Its face, blurred. Watching him. A cold wave of fear ran through his body. It's not a recording. The screens flickered all at once. And then, they changed again. Now they showed different moments. Different people. Security guards. Technicians. Analysts. All standing in this same room. All looking confused. All disappearing. One by one. Elena covered her mouth. They didn't leave, they were taken. A loud static crack filled the room. Every monitor went black. Then a single screen turned back on. Text appeared. YOUREHERENOW. The temperature dropped sharply. Daniel's breath became visible in the air. Elena stepped back. We need to go. Right now. But the door behind them slammed shut. Locked. The lights flickered violently. And then, a sound. Not from the screens. Not from the walls. From inside the room. A slow, heavy step. Then another. Daniel's heart pounded as he turned toward the darkness behind the rows of monitors. Something was moving. Something real. Elena grabbed his hand, her voice shaking. We're not alone. From the shadows, a figure began to emerge. Tall. Unnatural. Its shape shifting slightly, like it didn't fully belong in this world. And then, it stopped. Just far enough to watch them. Waiting. Like it had been waiting. For a very long time. The choice that ends it all. The figure didn't rush. It didn't attack. It simply stood there, watching. Daniel felt his grip tighten around Elena's hand. Every instinct told him to run, to scream, to do anything but stand still, but his body refused to move. What is that? Elena whispered, her voice trembling. The figure shifted slightly, its outline glitching like a broken signal. It wasn't solid, not entirely. Parts of it flickered in and out of existence, as if it existed in two places at once. Then, a voice filled the room. Not from the figure. Not from the screens. But everywhere. I was, like you. Daniel's breath caught. What? The voice echoed again, distorted but unmistakably human. I watched. I questioned. I searched for the gap. The monitors flickered back to life. Images flooded the screens, past recordings, faces of people who had stood exactly where Daniel and Elena stood now. All of them curious. All of them gone. Elena shook her head. No, you're lying. The figure stepped forward slightly. The air grew colder. I am what remains, when truth is seen without permission. Daniel's mind raced. You're saying, this place, this system, it does this to people. The screens changed again. Now they showed something deeper. Hidden layers of the network. Mass surveillance. Secret experiments. Data manipulation on a scale beyond imagination. The blackout at 217 wasn't a glitch. It was a doorway. A moment when the system reset reality itself. Elena's eyes widened. They're controlling everything. The voice responded. They were. Silence followed. Daniel frowned. Were. The figure's form stabilized slightly, as if it was trying to become clearer. But control requires secrecy. And secrecy requires silence. The monitors showed the moment each person discovered the truth. And then, the moment they were erased. Not killed. Removed. Absorbed into whatever this system had become. Elena stepped back, shaking. We shouldn't have come here. The voice softened. No one should. But someone always does. Daniel swallowed hard. Why show us this? For the first time, the figure moved closer, just enough that its presence felt overwhelming. Because now, you must choose. The lights dimmed. The screens split into two sets of images. On one side, Daniel and Elena walking away. Forgetting everything. Returning to their lives, unaware, safe. On the other, they stayed. They fought. They exposed the truth. And vanished. Elena turned to Daniel, tears in her eyes. We can still leave, we can pretend none of this happened. Daniel looked at the screens. At the people who had disappeared. At the world above them, living blindly. Then back at the figure. If we leave, this continues. Elena's voice broke. And if we stay, we become like them. Daniel nodded slowly. Maybe. Silence filled the room again. Heavy. Final. Then Daniel stepped forward. I won't let it stay hidden. Elena closed her eyes for a moment. Then, she stepped beside him. I'm not leaving you. The figure stood still. Then, for the first time, it seemed to smile. The screens exploded with light. Alarms blared. The system reacted violently, like a living thing under attack. Daniel rushed to the nearest console. Help me, if we can push this data out during the blackout window, it'll go public everywhere. Elena moved beside him instantly. 2:17. The clock on the wall flickered. 2 hours 16 minutes and 58 seconds. 2 hours 16 minutes and 59 seconds. Now, Daniel shouted. The screens went black. But this time, they didn't stop. Data surged through the system, breaking barriers, flooding networks, escaping into the world beyond. The truth was no longer hidden. A blinding white light filled the room. The last thing Daniel felt was Elena's hand gripping his tightly. And then, nothing. Epilogue. Weeks later, the world was in chaos. Leaked data had exposed secrets no one was meant to see. Governments denied it. Systems failed. Trust shattered. But something else happened too. At exactly 2:17 a.m., every night. For 7 seconds, every screen in the world flickered. And sometimes, if you looked closely, you could see two figures standing in the static. Watching, waiting, making sure the truth was never hidden again. Moral of the story. The truth is often buried for a reason, but silence protects those in power, not those in danger. It takes courage to uncover it, and even greater courage to reveal it, no matter the cost.